everyone, I haven't done a video in a long time and I wanted to make a video about this subject. I'm sure you all have heard of the claim that women are constantly objectified in the media. That is, their bodies are used as vessels for male pleasure. There are various counter-arguments to this claim, but I'm not going to cover most of them because there's a specific, seldom addressed counter-argument that I want to discuss. The fact of the matter is that men are objectified too, just in a different way. For example, let's look at the damsel in distress role, which is typically performed by a woman. In this role, the woman is a passive object that must be rescued and won by the male protagonist hero. Feminists often bring this up to prove how objectified women are in the media, but let's look at the men's side for a change. The female damsel at least has value. The male hero, on the other hand, does not intrinsically anyway. In fact, he must work for that value by impressing and rescuing the female damsel. However, the female damsel has no obligation to prove her worth. I'm sure you've noticed this by now. The female damsel is treated as a desirable object, while the male hero is treated as a disposable object. And it doesn't stop here in typical rescue the damsel plots. Men are treated as disposable objects in movies, TV shows, and video games that contain violence. Almost all the violence and homicide victims in these forms of media are men. Why is that? It's because people are much less likely to hurt a woman than to hurt a man. This once again proves that women are often treated as desirable, and that men are often treated as disposable. It's too bad that the feminists don't mention this. Why? Well, they're either indifferent or ignorant. The indifferent feminists truly shock me. They couldn't care less that for every one woman who's beaten, raped, mutilated, or killed in the media, 100, 200, or even 300 men share the same fate. They couldn't care less that a woman's death on screen is often less graphic than a man's death. They couldn't care less that whenever there's a life or death scenario, a man's life is usually sacrificed for that of a woman. This is the untold side of objectification. Now, I'm not saying that the portrayals of women in the media are completely harmless, but I'm positive that male objectification is much worse. Of course, I don't want to turn this into the oppression Olympics, but I grow weary of feminists who claim that men aren't as objectified as women when it's the exact opposite. Fortunately, there are some women who do understand that men are disposable in the media. I have an example that I will describe to the best of my ability. One of my subscribers named the Dynast Queen, I'll call her Queen for short, told me once that she was playing the Tomb Raider reboot game, and she came across a few enemies who were men. By the way, almost all the enemies in this game are men. Now, this game sometimes gives you the option of simply moving past enemies undetected instead of confronting them. Unfortunately, this was not one of those times. Anyway, Queen decided to wait for the enemies to go away, but they never did, which saddened her because she didn't want to kill them. She understood how men are treated in video games, and that's something I truly do appreciate. To all the feminists out there who still talk about female objectification, try looking at the other side of the coin for a change. Focusing only on your gender blinds you from the truth and makes you look self-centered. You do not have it worse than men when it comes to objectification, and you never will. Period.